My career has been built on doing one thing and only one thing. Did I have a job at one point? Yes. I'd get off work, I'd take my turnouts, all my fire department gear off in the parking lot, I'd put my suit on, and I would go straight to the office. And guess what? It wasn't a decision I had to make because it was a standard. All right, first off, happy Thanksgiving. And here we are at episode number 14, and I'm excited to be here. But happy Thanksgiving. You know, the holidays are my favorite time of the year. Hopefully they are for you too. I know for some people they're not. For some people they're actually frustrating. And for some people, family sucks. And so I hope that your holidays are fun and you can find something to be grateful for. Hopefully you could find an entire list of things to be grateful and thankful for. Because I'm a big believer that no matter how good it is, it could always be better. And no matter how bad it is, it could always be worse. And perspective is everything. And I say that just to tell you that no matter whether you're excited about the holidays or you're frustrated or you're lonely or you ain't got nowhere to celebrate, you could find something to be grateful for. And that would be my hope and prayer and challenge for you. As we get started with this episode, I want to tell you there's been so many times in my career where I was overwhelmed and frustrated. There's been so many times in my career where it felt like seemingly everything was going wrong. There's been a lot of times in my career where I felt behind. I felt like I was getting my face kicked in. I felt like everything I touched turned to crap. I felt like I had zero momentum. I couldn't get momentum. Everything was hard. Everything was frustrating. Everything was annoying. Everyone was saying no. There's so many times in my career where my team was pissing me off. My clients were just constantly seeming to say every possible thing but yes. And I was burnt out, or I felt burnt out, and I was frustrated. And I want to tell you, one of the biggest things that's changed in business for me was I read a quote that I wrote down in the book called Essentialism. And it said, if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. If you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. And I have found that one of the most biggest reasons why people get overwhelmed is because we don't prioritize our goals. We don't prioritize our life. Like we talked about on the last episode, we're not 100% sure why we're doing what we're doing, what we're working towards. We're just kind of waking up and working. And we're going to talk today about how to go from overwhelmed to organized. That way you can maximize impact and get the most out of your business. How to go from overwhelmed and stressed to organized and crushing it and thriving so that you could get the most out of your business. And I wrote down a couple things that I think, for me, having 13 years in business now in entrepreneurship, I haven't had a job in a long time. My last job that I had was in 2011. And so it's been almost 13 years, almost coming up to 14 years soon. And that's 13 years that the only thing that's brought money into Ronnie and I's house is entrepreneurship. It's business. Every dollar we've made has been a dollar that we made on results and skill set, not on job, not on a salary, not on payroll. It's been all hustle, and it's been all building a business and building a company. And so being overwhelmed is something I'm very familiar with because there's been a lot of times in my career where I felt like that. By the way, to this day, even when you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, you still feel the same frustration. You still get overwhelmed. You still get entrepreneur anxiety and paranoia, like we talked about a couple episodes back, which was a real popular episode. That stuff doesn't ever go away, but it's still all better than the best day having to drive to work in the morning and be there all day long until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. So let's talk about a couple things. First off, why do we feel overwhelmed? So I'm on the phone with one of my top agents the other day, and she's telling me how everybody who she hangs out with is on their second or third kid. Everybody who she hangs out with has bought a home. Everybody who she hangs out with complains, talks about the same stuff over and over again. But you know what? It is. She said I almost feel myself like feeling like I have to have another kid. One of the biggest reasons that I have found that people feel overwhelmed is pressure from society. It's expectations. There's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And in the book, he said, quote, "Extraordinary results are directly determined by how narrow you can make your focus." My way of doing business has always been to just do what's going to get me my goal. I don't pay attention to anything else. I've always been locked in on one thing. If you're trying to build a company, I don't care what industry it is. I don't care if it's real estate, solar, your own healthcare business. Like I know I've got a friend who watches a podcast who's a nurse building a like an aesthetics clinic, Botox, lip filler, all that stuff. So no matter what industry you're in, here's what I want you to know. In order for you to make it, you have to lock in on one thing. You've got to lock in on the one thing that's going to get you what you want. It's everything else, society pressures, expectations, the norm, the what all your friends are doing, the keeping up with the Joneses. That stuff's not going to get you where you want to go. If you want to get your business up and off the ground, if you want to build a life that's great, if you want to build a life that's thriving, a business that's thriving and scaling and continuing to improve and continue to get bigger and continue to bring on new clientele and new staff and expand, then you have to lock in and get laser focused on one thing. Too many of us juggle too many things. You're good at a lot of things. The jack of all trades, the master of zero, the master of none. For me, it's always been one thing since the beginning. It's one thing. If anything else comes along my way that takes any of my time, effort, energy, or focus, it's an automatic no for me. The thing that's going to get me big is the one thing that I'm doing. There's this myth that, the average millionaire or billionaire has at least 7 streams of income. But at the same time, the part of the story we never see is that same millionaire became a millionaire by just doing one thing. Then he got so big where he had to expand and do other stuff. He had to reinvest his money. She had to redirect some funds into other places to have more tax write-offs and more expenses and more corporations and layer corporations. But they got there doing one thing and getting really, really good at that one thing. The second reason I think that people get overwhelmed is we just have too much emotional clutter where we can't handle and we don't have the capacity to do the one thing that we need to be doing. What is emotional clutter? Anxiety, which is so prominent in society today. Guilt, indecision. Indecision, by the way, is a huge one. And it's emotional clutter. Emotional clutter is a mind full of stuff. Just so much stuff going on in your mind, so much stuff going on in your head where you can't focus on the thing you're trying to do. That's emotional clutter. Indecision is the fact that you can't make a decision. Every day, for example, should I prospect or should I not? Should I make phone calls or should I not? Should I go to the office or should I work from home? Should I put on a suit or should I just wear my pajamas? Should I get dressed for my appointment or should I not? Should I run the appointment or should I give it away? Should I get on this phone call or should I give it away? Should I get on training today or should I not? Should I turn my camera on or should I not? Like, there's just so many little decisions that you have a life set up in a way where you have to decide all these things. Indecision all day long. There's an example, if you think of Steve Jobs, who, everyone said Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every single day, right? And then when you ask him why, he said, well, because I don't want to have to think about what I'm going to wear every morning. So it's just easier for me to get up and wear the same thing. Indecision comes from a lack of clarity on our goals and our standards and what's important to us. And that creates what? Emotional clutter all day long is this constant decision making. And when you have to make so many decisions every day because you're not living based on your standards and your expectations for yourself, then what ends up happening is it's very easy to make the wrong decisions. I'm going to skip training. I'll start on Monday. Like the gym. The gym, if you have to decide every day what time you're going to go to the gym versus the gym being at the same time every single day, it's very difficult for someone to stay committed to the gym, and they probably don't. The University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, did research that said multitasking and decision-making decreases productivity by 40%. So someone who's doing too many things at once, too many businesses at once, too many hobbies at once, has to make too many decisions every day. Guess what? 40% less productive than the other person. My career has been built on doing one thing and only one thing. Did I have a job at one point? Yes. But I'd get off work, and guess what? I'd get off work, I'd put my suit on, I'd take my turnouts, all my fire department gear off in the parking lot. I'd put my suit on, and I would go straight to the office. And guess what? It wasn't a decision I had to make because it was a standard. I had a standard of excellence and expectation for myself. My wife was expecting me to win in business. If I was going to spend time doing this, she was expecting me to be good at it, and she was expecting it to work. So I'd get off, I'd take my fire uniform off, I'd throw it in the back seat of my car, I'd put my suit on. I had the same suit, I was wearing the same one every day, and I'd drive to the office, and I'd work, and I'd grind until I got 20 prospects, or I closed some sort of a policy or some sort of a recruit. And so there was no decisions that I had to make. It didn't matter if I felt like it. It didn't matter if I felt good. It didn't matter if I was tired, burnt out, excited, frustrated, pissed off, or fired up. None of it mattered because the decision was already made that I'm going to grind and I'm going to do this on the days I want to and on the days I don't. On the days I feel like it and the days I don't feel like it. I'm going to make decisions on my standards, not my feelings, right? And so emotional clutter kills people. Now, let's talk about simplifying, because in order to win and in order to not be overwhelmed, but instead to get organized and to grind and to win, you got to simplify. Now, I wrote down 3 areas where we got to declutter in order to simplify. So if you're taking notes, write down, how do I simplify? Declutter. And there's 3 areas. Okay, number 1, declutter the mind. Now, earlier, I'm doing a coaching call with someone. It's where I get all my topics. It's when I'm coaching a teammate. I'm doing a coaching call with someone, and this someone who I'm doing a coaching call with says, I just feel like I have so much crap in my head. And I said, well, you're right. You're definitely right. How do we get rid of that? How do we fix that? Decluttering the mind. So I've always done, and I don't think anyone ever told me this. It just came to me, I think, one day, and it's possible you've done this, but I call it a brain dump. A brain dump. What's a brain dump? I grab a piece of paper and I write every single thing that's in my head on paper. So, for example, back in the day, I've told this story before, but it stands out to me a lot. We're playing volleyball. It's late at night. Losing team sits out. My team kept losing. I was super pissed off and annoyed. Sitting outside, it's freaking freezing, it's raining, and I start getting overwhelmed because when I'm losing, then I start to feel like I shouldn't even be playing, I should be working instead. And so, that entrepreneur paranoia comes back. And so I grab a pen and paper and I just start writing, like all the crap in my head, all the things that's bothering me. Every single time I meet someone or I talk to someone who I say, what's wrong? Something's bothering you. And they go, I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? I always know what's wrong when something's wrong. I grab a paper and I write down every single thing that's in my head on paper so I could clear my mental space. I take all the crap in my brain, good and bad, I dump it all on paper, and I instantly have clarity. Okay? There's a book that's a really good book, Getting Things Done. And in there he said, your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. Right? So he talks about how your brain is about creating ideas, not carrying them around all day long. It's about having them. Another thing I do a lot of is journaling. What's the name of this journal? I forget the name of it now. I use this journal every single day. I believe it's called Inside Out, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, if you Google that and that doesn't exist, it's all good. Send me a message and I will know the name of it by then. But I use this journal, and it's a journal prompt, so I don't have to think. Every day it's like, hey, write about this, talk about this. What are 5 points about this? What are 3 things that stand out about this? Okay, and it's really, really good. I do a lot of meditation, a lot of gratitude, and I use apps for that. There are really good apps for that. Notion is a really good one. Trello is a good app that I use for daily tasks. I use another one called Minimalist, right? And it's just like, it's a to-do list, but it's super simple. And it even lets you like scratch it out when you're done with a line through it. All these apps and tools are things that I use to declutter my mind. I want to have a mind that's empty of crap. A mind that's empty of crap. If you've got 2,000 things in your head all day, guess what? Nothing gets done. And the things that do get done very mediocre. Number 2, for simplifying, you got to declutter your schedule. This is a big deal because a lot of people believe they don't have time in order to win in business. That's not true, you guys. You do have time. What you're not doing is you're not investing your time. Instead, you're spending it and you're wasting it. Okay, do a time audit. I always do a time audit where I look and I track how I spend my time every single week for a whole week. Like literally for a week. Like they have apps like a clock in and clock out app where you could clock in every time you're actually working for business. You treat it like a job. I open the app, I clock in. I do whatever I'm doing for my business. As soon as I'm done, I clock out. And at the end of the week, you realize how little time you actually spend or invest into your business. And then you wonder why your business isn't moving. There's also something called the Eisenhower Matrix. If you've ever read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he tells you to take all the tasks that you feel like you have to get done that are urgent, meaning they're time sensitive, versus the tasks that are important. And then decide which ones to focus on. And you realize real quick how much time we spend chasing emergencies versus chasing things that actually move our business. Urgent things are not necessarily more important, but they're urgent. So they take our time and then we end up getting nothing done that actually moves our business forward. Okay. The key to winning, you guys, is not spending your time. It's investing it. Spending it means the money's gone. Therefore, the time's gone. Investing it means I'm investing time into something that's going to give me more time and give me more money. And it's a very big deal. But in order to do it, you have to declutter your schedule. Okay, last thing you got to declutter. This one I haven't always been good at, but I am now, is your space. Decluttering your space. I read this book that Ronnie recommended. It was so good. It's so good. And to this day, it's one of my favorites. I read it probably like at least once a year, called the Marie Kondo. What's the actual name of the book though? Anyways, I refer to it as the Marie Kondo approach is how I think of how I declutter now. The actual name of her book, I don't remember. But in the book, she says that when you have a bunch of crap in your space, it's not her words, but this is my paraphrase. When you have a bunch of crap in your space, when your space is decluttered, your mind is decluttered. When your space is congested, your mind is congested. And she said that you pick up every single item, and if it doesn't spark joy in you, you get rid of it. But before you get rid of it, you actually thank it for the joy that it brought to your life at one point, and then you decide what you're going to do with it. I'm telling you, that book changed my whole life. I keep my truck clean. It didn't used to be. I would have 1 million hats, 1 million jackets, 1 million water bottles, like everything in my truck. I lived in it. But now I'm constantly, every time I go to the gas station, I take everything, throw it away, clean it out. An empty space leaves room for creativity. Okay? There's a huge link between physical clutter and stress and mental clutter. And so declutter your mind, your calendar, and your space. Okay? So that's simplifying so that we don't feel overwhelmed. That's how you simplify. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, building systems that actually work in order to get rid of being overwhelmed. Okay. Time blocking is a big deal. So what I do is Milet trained one time on the mini days, where you have multiple days in a day where you time block your time. When I had a job, I would get off and I would find and create and make time for me to win. So it didn't matter how little time I had. If I only had 4 hours in the evening, I'm like, perfect. 1 hour is going to be prospecting. 1 hour is going to be me setting up appointments. 1 hour is going to be me running an appointment, hopefully. 1 hour is going to be me planning for my next day. Like time blocking, where you take whatever time you have and you break it down so you can actually get some stuff done. Instead of just saying, I have no time. We all have time. but how you invest the time is a big deal. Another thing, simplifying your decision making so you don't get stuck in indecisions. Set your standards, set your expectations, and create a routine. For example, for me, I wanted to make sure I'm getting enough fiber, enough protein, and enough good fats into my diet. I wanted to make sure I was incorporating enough fruits into my diet so I get enough antioxidants into my diet. So what did I do? Instead of all day long thinking about what I'm going to eat next, I wake up in the morning now. I get up 20 minutes earlier. I pulled out my blender. I bought a Vitamix, a real blender, a good one like they have at Jamba Juice. I don't want to fight with the stupid blender all day with something that doesn't work. I got a great recipe. I wake up every morning. It takes me 5 minutes to make my smoothie. And by the time I'm done with my smoothie, it's almost 70 grams of protein, 75 grams of 75 grams of carbs, and like 20 to 30 grams of fat. It's got flaxseed in it. It's got chia seed in it. It's got, it's just great. It's got blueberries for antioxidants. It's got strawberries. It's got everything I need for the first quarter of my day to half of my day to start off my day really, really good. So I don't have to wake up every day and think about what am I going to eat. I just wake up, I grab my same 1 cup measuring cup, my same thing every single time. Takes me 5 minutes to make it. It's perfect every single time. Starts my day off perfect. Okay, that's automating my decisions. Then I go to the gym. Then when I'm done, I have a protein shake. So like literally my first 3 hours of my day are perfect. I'm reading a book on the way there, on audio. Like I'm starting off my day perfectly. Okay, last thing, delegating effectively. There are a lot of things that we spend our time doing all day long that are not helping us hit our goal. They're not moving the business forward. Okay, for a lot of you, you gotta start delegating. You've got teammates that you could have doing other stuff. You could hire an assistant. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do that simplify your life, that make your business more effective and more productive for everybody. That's something that I've figured out through the years. Thank God I'm not a control freak at all. I do like things to be done correctly, but I'm not a control freak. I'm not microanalyzing everything. Ronnie does what she does. My assistant Sherry does what she does. Jay Justin does what he does. Like, I pretty much also have really good people around me that are better at everything than I am. That helps. But I'm just not like, I do not want to be the one doing everything. I don't want to be in charge of everything. I try to put other people in charge of as many things as possible. I don't want to think about a lot of stuff. It makes the team better that way because you surround yourself with people that are better than you. I promise you, if you're watching this, you probably need to delegate, because you would be 10 times more effective and 10 times better if it wasn't always you doing everything. I don't want to do everything, and I think that's helped me out a lot. Last thing on how to go from overwhelmed to organized and winning. Now, a lot of people, they always love to say, I don't have enough time. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me. That's your fault. You are choosing for it to be just you. It does not have to be just you. Okay? Overwhelmed to organized and winning. Simplicity is everything. That's point number 4. Maintaining some simplicity over time. Okay? What I would tell you to do is schedule a weekly review with yourself where you sit down and you figure out what you got done this week, what worked, what didn't work, and then you adjust. Don't keep doing the same crap over and over again that doesn't work. Get feedback. Set up a weekly review with you or with your coach, with your trainer, with your mentor, with your business partner, whatever it is, and look at what worked and what didn't work. The 80-20 rule, which is called the Pareto principle, says that you should focus on the 20% of things that give you the 80% of results. A lot of us, we don't. We spend all of our time doing the little crap, the 80% of things that only amount to 20% of your end of the month or end of the year results. I spend my time focusing on the best things. I want to have so much time. I'm always thinking about what can I do? What's the best use of my time? What can I do that's going to give me the best bang for my 1 hour? And I figure out, how can I do that? Instead of having one meeting and one training with one person, how can I turn it into a meeting that has all 500 of my agents on it? Instead of teaching you how to run an appointment, how about I set up a meeting with all 500 of my agents and I just do a training on how to run an appointment and I record it so I have it forever. I'm always trying to figure out what's the best use of my time. How could I give 20% effort and get 80% results? How could I give 20% of my time and get 80% of the results? Like, I'm always trying to figure that out. So many of us, we're not thinking like that. We're just wasting time. We do the same meeting 40 times when you could have just done one meeting with 40 people. And so it's about being smart, being effective, figuring out what can you do to get big. Okay. Atomic Habits. Who writes that? James Clear. He said that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the quality of your systems. So if our systems suck, guess what? We could be fired up, enthusiastic, and hungry and motivated, but our systems are garbage. And the way we invest our time is garbage. And we waste so much time and we're so distracted and we're constantly overwhelmed because we don't have the right people in place. We're a control freak, so we have to do everything ourselves. And as a result of that, we get nothing done or close to nothing done. You guys, you ask anybody on my team, they will tell you one of the things, if you say, is Jay a control freak? No. Now, am I on top of whether or not you're doing things correctly? 1,000%, because I want your efforts to be effective. I want what you do to work. I'm a system person. I'm an action person first and a system person equally as strong. So I'm very, very, very particular that we do things effectively and correctly. But I am not a control freak. I want to utilize the talents of everybody. I want to utilize the strengths of all the people on my team, the gifts of all our leadership. So, get effective with your time. All right. If we simplify what? We could get more done. Okay? It's about, just so you know, simplification, it's not about simplifying, okay, so that you're not overwhelmed. It's not about doing less. It's about doing what matters the most. It's not about having less things to do. It's not about clearing your daily tasks. It's about doing the important ones. Getting the 80% of everything done first, like the biggest things that make the whole day successful, doing those first. I don't remember. There's a book that talks about doing the big, giant, monstrous things that you're scared of that you really don't want to do. I can't remember exactly what it is, but y'all probably know what I'm talking about. It's about doing those things first. The top 5, 10, 15, 20% of things that give you the biggest impact. The things that are the hardest, the things that you dread, those are the ones you got to do first. And then you hit little things the rest of the day. That's the whole point of simplifying. It's not about being busy. It's about being productive. It's not about necessarily even working hard. It's about being smart and doing the right things. And the right things will move you forward. All right. Simplify your life, you guys. When you simplify your life, you simplify your decision making. You simplify your brain by decluttering. You create room for the stuff that matters the most. And the stuff that matters the most is going to move you forward the most. For me, that stuff is what? Faith, family, my health, my fitness, my relationships. My obviously finance comes in with all that. If everything's good, everything's good. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go on social media and share a tip. I did this with the goat sledge the other day. We had our first Instagram live, by the way, which was awesome. I had a lot of really good feedback. Everyone asking if we could do it again. We'll do another one. But I gave them a challenge. I told them to tag me in it. By the way, if you did tag me in it, send it to me in a DM so I could find it. But I want you to go on and I want you to post a simplifying action, something you're going to do to simplify your life, a tip that you could give to your audience of how you're going to simplify your life. Tag our podcast, tag Win Anyway in there so we can see it too. But as always, you guys, thanks for the support. Thank you for all the shares, the love. Every time you send it to a new teammate, super cool. A lot of your teammates message me, hey, I just found your podcast. My trainer sent it to me, which is awesome. We appreciate that. We do our best to always put out just the best content. Thank you to Jay Justin, as always, who's the absolute best. Everyone keeps messaging me trying to hire him. I asked him, he's not for hire. He's gotten good at saying no. He says no to a lot of jobs. But I almost did an episode on the magic of saying no. Maybe we'll do that next week. But thank you, as always, for everything. Happy Thanksgiving. As I said in the beginning, I hope you can find things to be grateful for, regardless of where you're at in life. If you woke up above ground, that's still better than otherwise. I know some people will argue it's not, and that's part of the challenge, but I promise you it is. There's so much to be grateful for. If you look around, you could find it. Have a good one, you guys. Thanks as always, and we are out.